Mom, from now on, the cooking and laundry are all on you. I was in the sunroom, cradling a warm cup of Earl Grey, savoring my first morning of retirement without a bell, a schedule, or a checklist. Sunlight slipped through the sheer curtains and fell across my teacup, turning the amber liquid into a little lantern. At 62, after a 38-year career teaching fourth graders how to read with courage and write with heart, I thought I could finally breathe. A greasy dish rag arced through the air and landed in my lap, splattering my favorite beige cardigan. "Besides, you're retired now," my daughter-in-law Jessica declared, planted in the middle of the living room like a foreman on a job site. Her chemically curled hair was yanked into a high, hard ponytail. "You're just sitting around all day. You can't live here for free." I placed the cup back on its saucer. My fingers trembled. The rag reeked of scorched oil. She must have swiped it over the stovetop 5 minutes ago. "Jess, what is that?" My son Daniel stepped out of the bedroom. Crisp suit, tie knotted just so, that impatient smile I used to know from his teenager years already forming. For a second I felt a flicker of warmth, then it went cold when he kept talking. "Mom's getting older. You need to be, more delicate." He came to stand over me. "Mom, your Social Security check is limited. We're under real pressure with prices like they are. It's only right you help out around here, don't you think?" I looked up at the boy I'd carried through fevers, the young man I'd scrimped to send to college. When he married, I handed him my life savings for the down payment on this very house. Now his eyes skimmed over me like I was a stranger renting a room. "I understand," I said. I set the dish rag on the coffee table, stood, brushed off my cardigan. "You two go to work. I'll handle things." Jessica hummed, satisfied, and slung her purse over her shoulder. Daniel paused at the door, adding, "And Mom, please mop the floors. Jessica likes things really clean." The door clicked shut. Silence pressed in on the living room. On the wall hung the old family portrait I'd brought when I moved in 2 years ago. Little Daniel, arms flung around my neck, the grin so big it almost swallowed his cheeks. I touched the frame, then went to the kitchen. The sink overflowed with breakfast plates. Grease dotted the stovetop. The trash can had given up. I rolled up my sleeves and started the water. Tears slid hot and quiet while the faucet ran. Before retirement, I always came home and cooked, cleaned, took the sting of Jessica's critiques. Too salty, too bland, not clean enough, without making a scene. But on the first morning of this new chapter, to be christened the housemaid, I washed the dishes. I did not mop the floor. Instead, I went to my small room, the guest room, they called it, pulled the old suitcase Arthur and I had bought on a trip to Florida. Arthur's been gone 5 years. If he could see this, oh, his heart would ache. I packed slowly. Clothes, photo albums, my favorite paperbacks, the watch Arthur left me. It all fit in one suitcase. From under my pillow, I took an envelope, cash I'd tucked away from my pension checks for months. Not a fortune, but enough to start somewhere new. On the dining table, I left a note in my tidy teacher script. "I'm going to find my own worth. Don't worry about me." Then I wheeled my suitcase out the door. At the entrance to the subdivision, a cab idled. "Where to, ma'am?" the driver asked. "Where to?" After Arthur died, I sold our old house and moved in with my son. Now I had nowhere. "Downtown," I said. As we drove, the city scrolled by like a memory book. My elementary school, the farmer's market with sun-warmed peaches, the coffee shop where Arthur read the paper on Sunday mornings. My life lived in these streets, and yet I felt like a tourist, or worse, a wanderer. I checked into a small, clean hotel, set my suitcase down, sat by the window to watch the sidewalks thrum. Relief drifted in. quiet and real. From the suitcase's hidden compartment, I pulled a large manila envelope, a stack of documents, property deeds, stock certificates, bank statements. My fingers traced numbers and seals. Arthur's last lesson had been whispered as he held my hand. Eleanor, never put all your eggs in one basket. Daniel is a good son, but people change. Keep something that's yours. Back then I brushed it off as illness-born anxiety. Daniel was my boy. How could he ever be anything but loyal? I understand now. I owned a 2-bedroom condo in Southgate, bought 5 years ago with Arthur's life insurance, rented, income steady. I also owned a small commercial unit out on the edge of town, leased to a convenience store, a handful of mutual funds, boring, reliable, paid monthly like clockwork. Added together with my pension, it was more than enough. I never had to be a charity case in my son's house. I dialed an old friend. "Brenda, it's me. Eleanor." Brenda, Arthur's former colleague, now a sharp, steady presence at a law firm, didn't bother to hide her outrage when I told her. "Those ungrateful brats. Don't you worry. We'll sort the housing right now. Your Southgate lease ends next week. You can move in." "Thank you," I said. "Don't tell Daniel. Not yet. I want them to consider the silence." After I hung up, I took a hot shower. In the mirror, I saw someone I barely recognized. Older, yes, but with a thread of steel in her eyes. That evening in the hotel restaurant, my phone rang. Daniel. "Mom, where did you go?" The urgency in his voice surprised me. "Why is the house so clean? What was that note?" "I'm staying elsewhere for a few days," I said, cutting into my steak. "You'll both need to take care of yourselves." "Mom, stop being dramatic," he snapped. "Jessica came home and saw the kitchen and thinks you're throwing a tantrum. Just come back. You don't have to do all the housework. How about that?" Not worry, not love, annoyance. "Daniel," I said, setting the knife and fork down. "I am 62. I raised you for 35. I put you through college and helped you buy your house. I am not your unpaid maid." "What are you talking about?" he stammered. "We only asked for a little help. Where are you? I'll come pick you up." "That won't be necessary." I ended the call and turned my phone off. The steak tasted better after that. I ordered tiramisu. On the restaurant TV, a counseling show aired a mother and son arguing. I smiled to myself, the absurdity not lost on me. Tomorrow I'd see my condo, the place I'd never once set foot in. Tonight I'd sleep without alarms, without a daughter-in-law's heels jackhammering the hall at dawn, without the whispered guilt that turned me into a ghost in my own life. Morning glowed through the curtains. 7 missed calls from Daniel, 3 texts. "Mom, stop. Come home. Jessica's angry. Where are you?" I called Brenda. "I want to see the condo." "I just spoke to the tenants," she said. "They'll hand off early. Meet me in 30. Brenda hugged me like she meant it. Same petite frame, now with stylish green-tinted hair and a laugh that could talk you back from a cliff. "Come on, let's go home." Sunnyvale Gardens in Southgate. 2 bedrooms, 5th floor. The key turned. The faint scent of lemon cleaner met us. The young couple who'd rented it kept it immaculate. Soft beige walls, pale wood floors, glass doors flooding the place with light. The 2nd bedroom was a tidy home office. The balcony looked over a green courtyard. "Do you like it?" Brenda asked. I nodded. Words wouldn't come. More than twice the size of my closet at Daniel's. Sunlight, space, quiet. And mine. She pulled a folder. "Rents hit your account on time every month. After taxes and fees, about 1,500 clears. Here are the statements." I waved it off. "I trust you." I took one more slow turn around the living room. "I'm moving in today. Brenda cocked an eyebrow. Not waiting for your son's grand apology? He won't come, I said. He thinks I'm a stubborn old woman making noise. She sighed. I'll call a moving company. It's one suitcase, I said. I'm fine. On the way back to retrieve my bag, Brenda asked, when will you tell Daniel the truth? What truth? That you own property and savings, that you're not helpless. Her fingers drummed the wheel. He probably thinks you'll crawl back in a couple days. I stared out the window at the familiar streets. Brenda wasn't wrong. At the hotel checkout desk, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Mom, Daniel's voice, angry, tight. Why didn't you answer? Do you know how worried Jessica and I are? I'm fine, calm. No need to worry. Where are you? I'm coming to get you. That's not necessary. I'm staying with a friend. What friend? You have friends? Suspicion. Sharp and ugly. Stop the nonsense and come home. Jessica says if you come back, you can do less housework. I closed my eyes, the old ache back behind my ribs. In his mind, I was helpless, gullible, a pensioner to be managed. Daniel, I am 62. I have a right to my own life. You and Jessica take care of yourselves. Mom? I turned off the phone. Brenda watched my face. You okay? I am, I said. Let's go home. The word home felt strange on my tongue. For 38 years, home traveled with my husband's job and my son's needs. School dorms, bank apartments, finally a small room in my son's house. Now, for the first time, it sat with me. The property manager, a kind middle-aged man, made the move-in easy. Brenda stocked my fridge like a mother hen. Eggs, milk, greens, something sweet. Before she left, she squeezed my hand. Call me, and please, do not go soft on that boy. After she left, I set a photo on the nightstand, 1 month before Arthur died. He'd been so thin, but insisted on standing between us, hand on my shoulder, hand on Daniel's. I could almost hear him. Take care of yourself, Eleanor. From the hidden compartment, I laid out documents on the bed, the deed with my name on it, dated 3 months after Arthur's passing, 3 mutual funds totaling more than $680,000, a commercial lease worth $48,000 a year. Add my pension, my fixed monthly income nudged near $15,000, 3 times what Daniel imagined. I locked it all in the desk drawer. That night I made soup and ate by the glass doors while the city glowed. I let my phone stay dark. Sleep came easy, and when it broke at dawn, it broke like a blessing. Sun on my pillow, toast on a plate, coffee in hand on the balcony as I watched neighbors walk dogs and stretch their arms to the sky. Freedom slid in like a chair being pulled out for me at my own table. 3 unread texts when I checked my phone. Mom, Jessica's pregnant. 2 months. Here's the ultrasound. Don't you want to meet your grandchild? The photo was a gray blur labeled early intrauterine pregnancy, dated yesterday, the very day I left. What a coincidence. If Jessica was truly pregnant, why the screaming yesterday? Why the rag tossed like a weapon? Why stress the morning after a clinic visit? The doorbell rang. Brenda with oatmeal and a pastry, bustling like she owned the kitchen. Eat, then listen. She handed me a folder. I checked with my contacts. Jessica went to the clinic yesterday, but not for a pregnancy. Irregular period. No baby. I set the spoon down. Even when you see it coming, a lie can still slice you open. And, Brenda said, sliding a business card across the table, I booked you with a trust attorney, 3 o'clock. There are questions about Arthur's estate. My husband's estate? I frowned. I thought everything was handled. Brenda's mouth softened with something like sorrow. Eleanor, there are things Arthur didn't tell you. After she left, I went to change shoes for a walk. The doorbell chimed again. The property manager's assistant stood there with a bouquet. "This was delivered for you, Ms. Vance. Lilies and carnations. My favorites when I was younger. A card. Mom, we're sorry. We were wrong. Please let us fix it. Daniel and Jessica." Jessica's name was in Daniel's handwriting. I set the flowers on the coffee table. No vase, no water, and stepped out for air. At a cafe, 2 young women vented about mother-in-laws. I stirred my latte and swallowed the urge to defend myself to strangers. In Daniel and Jessica's story, I was probably the meddling mother. In mine, I'd tiptoed for 2 years. A text from an unknown number. "Mrs. Vance, I'm Kevin, your son's co-worker. Daniel missed work. He's worried sick. Please call." I turned the phone on. It vibrated like a trapped bee with notifications. I skimmed them. Panic, guilt, blame, a threat to call the police. I called Daniel. "Mom," he sounded near tears. "Where are you? I've been looking everywhere." "I'm fine," I said. "Staying with a friend." "What friend?" "Give me the address. I'll come." "That's not necessary. I need time." "Have you been scammed?" he demanded, voice rising. "Your pension can't cover this. Did Brenda put you up to this? She never liked me." I inhaled slowly. To him, I was a fool. To him, Brenda was a puppet master pulling strings I was too dim to see. "Daniel," I said, "I can manage my life, take care of yours." "You can't do this," he shouted. "I'm your son, your only family. How can you abandon me?" "Abandon you?" A sound like a laugh caught in my throat. "You turned me into a maid." Silence. Then Jessica's voice broke in, suddenly soft. "Mom, it's my fault. I was immature. Please don't be angry. Please come home. The baby needs a grandmother." Even now, still lying. I ended the call. At 3, I met Mr. Peterson, a steady man with gold-rimmed glasses and a quiet, careful cadence. "Mrs. Vance," he said, sliding a document across the table. "This is the trust your late husband established. Beneficiaries, you and your son. It includes a special clause. If Daniel is unfilial or neglectful toward you, you can revoke his share." I stared. "How much is in the trust?" "Currently valued around $500,000. It generates roughly $2,000 monthly. Strangely, in the past 5 years, none of it has reached your account." A hollow roar filled my ears. "That's impossible." He pointed to the receiving account number. It wasn't mine. "After Mr. Vance's death, did anyone manage your paperwork?" "Daniel," I whispered. "He wanted to handle the burden. I gave him power of attorney." Peterson made a call to the bank. 10 minutes ticked by like hours. He hung up carefully. "The account user is Daniel Vance." The room swam. The son I stayed up with through fevers. The young man I sent into the world with my savings. He'd quietly taken $2,000 a month for 5 years while I clipped coupons and handed me a mop like a scepter. "Mr. Peterson," I said, voice steadying on its own, "I want to sue my son and recover every cent." He winced. "Family matters can sometimes be resolved through mediation." "Mediation?" I said, a humorless sound in my throat. "He stole from me." Outside, afternoon sun felt sharp as glass. I called Brenda. "He took Arthur's trust, 500,000 for 5 years. Brenda came to the condo like a storm. We went to the bank that held the trust. Transactions laid bare on a screen. On the 15th of every month, withdrawals of $1,000. Signature, Daniel Vance. Document, my power of attorney. "Can you freeze the account?" Brenda asked. "With a court order," the manager said. "You'll need to file." We left with copies, the paper edges biting into my palm. Brenda called a judge she knew. The advice was practical. A lawyer's formal demand first. If refused, a lawsuit. "I want to talk to him first," I said. Eleanor, I just want to hear what he says. Back home, I texted Daniel, meet me at the entrance of Sunnyvale Gardens at 10 tomorrow, alone. His reply was instant. Mom, you're living there? That place is expensive. Rent's crazy. Also, don't tell Jessica. I put the phone face down and watched the light fade from the courtyard, threading new steel into old bone. I barely slept. Memory after memory. His first word, the clay handprint in second grade, the toast at his wedding, rose and dissolved until dawn. At 9:30, I stood in the lobby. By 10, I stepped outside. Daniel was already there in the navy shirt I'd bought him last year. Hope flared in his eyes, and I knew suddenly it wasn't for me. It was for what he still thought I had not found out. You live here? His gaze darted over the building, the grounds, calculating. How are you paying for this? I'm not renting, I said. I own it. His face drained. Since when do you own a condo? I bought it 5 years ago, I said, holding his eyes. With your father's life insurance. Right after you helped me with the trust. He blanched. What trust? The $500,000 your father left for me. You've been taking the monthly income for 5 years while I pinched pennies, and now you want me back to mop your floors. He looked like a man in free fall, white, then red, then chalky again. Mom, I can explain. How do you explain watching your mother struggle while you siphon her money? How do you explain turning me into your maid? It was Jessica, he blurted, grabbing at my sleeve. She said we should invest, get a bigger house for our future. I was wrong. I know I was wrong. I pulled back. A grown man who blames the nearest woman when he's caught. My voice surprised me with its calm. Give it back, Daniel. All of it. I don't have it, he said, eyes sliding away. It's invested. Jessica's cousin's project. 20% annual return. I flinched like he'd slapped me. A Ponzi scheme. I need time, he stammered. Please don't take me to court. I'm your son. When you took the money, did you think about prison then? I asked. That money was mine too, he shouted. Dad left it for me. Why should you get everything? I'm a beneficiary. The trust is clear, I said. You inherit if you're good to me. You haven't been. I turned and walked toward the door. Mom, you'll regret this, he yelled. You're a retired old woman. Without me, you'll die alone, and no one will find you for days. The security guard at the desk watched him retreat. Ms. Vance, should I? Please don't let that man upstairs again, I said. For now. Upstairs, I finally cried. Brenda was right. Some people don't deserve my forgiveness. The phone rang. Mr. Peterson. Mrs. Vance, there's more. The original trust said Daniel could only inherit 30%, and only if 3 conditions were met. With your consent, after he was married and financially stable, and if he was filial. 5 years ago, someone altered the document to 50% and forged your signature. That's a felony. I held the phone like it might bite. My son didn't just take. He forged me into his permission. File everything, I said. We're suing. Not 10 minutes later, Jessica called. She cried, begged, bargained, then threatened. If you push this, we'll say it was a gift. Who would believe an old woman? Who'll take care of you when you're sick? I hung up. That evening, Brenda showed up with lasagna and the kind of fury that could power a city. We go to court tomorrow, she said. I'll get us on the docket. I keep thinking about giving them one more chance, I whispered. Eleanor. She gripped my shoulders. That good little boy you remember is gone. The man who did this to you is all that's left. In the courthouse's long, cold hall the next morning, I sat between Brenda and Mr. Peterson. At 9 sharp, Daniel and Jessica arrived. Daniel in a suit like he was closing a deal. Jessica in a loose dress, hands cradling her stomach as if she were glass. Pregnant now? Or another performance? I couldn't tell. Maybe both. "Mom," Daniel said with that camera-ready smile that used to melt my teacher's heart, "why make a scene? We can talk at home." "Mr. Vance," Peterson stepped in. "On Mrs. Vance's behalf, we're filing suit for misappropriation of trust assets." Daniel's face darkened. He raised his voice for the hallway to hear. "My own mother is suing me. My wife is pregnant and she's trying to ruin us." Jessica dabbed tears instantly. "Grandma, do you want your grandbaby in debt?" I stood. "Jessica, yesterday you told me the money was a gift. Today I'm cruel? Which story are you selling?" Her tears vanished like a switch had been flipped. "Daniel," I said, my voice even, "I'll give you one last chance. Admit what you did. Return the money now. I'll drop the suit." "It's invested," he ground out. "If you insist on this, don't blame me for being heartless." He yanked a stack of paper from his briefcase. "Here's a detailed bill for my mother's rent, utilities, and food for 5 years. If we're settling accounts, we'll settle all of it. Rent, $3,000 month. Utilities, $500. Food, $2,000. Total, $320,000. Brenda shook with rage. "Eleanor worked herself to the bone for you, and you dare to charge her?" "She volunteered," Daniel snapped. "What mother counts pennies with her son?" I looked at the boy who used to hug my waist and say, "Mommy, I love you more than the moon." I inhaled. "Fine," I said. "Let's settle everything." "For 5 years I cooked 3 meals a day," I continued, "at market rate for a personal cook, $50 per meal. That's $150 per day. Over $54,000 a year, $270,000 for 5 years. I clean twice a week, market rate $200 per visit, over $20,000 a year, $100,000 for 5. Laundry and ironing, $1,000 a month, $60,000 for 5 years. Total value of my labor, $430,000. Subtract your $320,000, you owe me $110,000, add the stolen $500,000. You owe me $610,000. Please pay promptly." Daniel's mouth worked, no sound coming. "This is extortion," he finally choked. "It's math," Mr. Peterson said dryly. "And generous math." A clerk appeared. "The judge will see you for mediation." The mediator, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes and a gavel-light voice, reviewed the papers and sighed. "Family disputes are best resolved together. Mrs. Vance, do you really wish to pursue charges against your son?" "I don't want to," I said, my voice shaking, "but he first stole what my husband left for me." "That money was half mine," Daniel cut in. "Quiet," the judge snapped. "Mr. Vance, document forgery is a crime. If Mrs. Vance pursues this, prison is on the table." Jessica panicked. "Your Honor will repay it. We're just short right now. Can we do installments?" "Fine," I said, "with your house as collateral." "No." Daniel surged to his feet. "That's our home." "Then we go to court," I said, standing. "Wait," Jessica grabbed my arm. "We'll sign." Under the judge's supervision, Daniel signed a repayment agreement. He admitted to misappropriating the trust, promised to repay within 5 years, and put their property up as collateral. If he defaulted, I could force the sale. Outside the courthouse, Daniel's face was a dull, angry gray. "Happy now?" "No," I said. "I'd be happier if my son were honest." "Spare me," he sneered. "You had a condo all along and pretended you were helpless. You were testing me." "Some people will always blame others," I said, "even when the mirror is right in front of them." Back home, I lay on my sofa and stared at the ceiling. Legally, I'd won something, but there's no parade for a mother who sues her son. That evening, Brenda came with brighter news. The community college wants you to teach calligraphy in their lifelong learning program. You love it. I do, I said, but today I'm not sure I love anything. Start tomorrow, she said, squeezing my hand. Begin your new life. The next morning, my brush moved steady and sure across rice paper on my balcony, the strokes reminding my muscles that they knew how to build beauty from quiet. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Eleanor Vance? Mark Evans, principal at Lincoln Elementary. Heard you retired. We'd love to have you mentor our younger teachers. Lincoln, my last school, the one I'd poured my bones into. I said yes to a visit, yes to stepping into a building that still smelled like pencil shavings and library paste. After the meeting with Mark, kind as ever, 10 years my junior, grateful, he asked if I'd consider taking on the 6th grade honors class once a week. My old class. A smile tugged at my mouth. Let me think on it. Outside, an old colleague, Susan, gaped. Eleanor, Daniel told everyone you moved out of state to live with relatives. I moved out, I said evenly, into my own place. Where? She asked, then blushed. Never mind. That boy has half the staff frantically looking for you. He said you might be destitute. Back in my condo, my phone buzzed nonstop. Daniel's colleagues, neighbors, even an old student's mother. Daniel telling anyone who'd listen that I was missing, scammed, unstable. My jaw clenched. The doorbell. Brenda with grocery bags and a righteous scowl. He's telling people you're homeless? He stole your money and plays the devoted son? Ridiculous. Now ribs, fish, green beans. Eat. We just set the table when the intercom rang. Ms. Vance, the lobby attendant said, there's a Mr. Vance insisting he's your son. Brenda and I looked at each other. Send him up, I said. It was time. He arrived rumpled, breathless, eyes bloodshot. He saw Brenda and snarled, So, it was you. You convinced her. Daniel, I said, raising a hand. If you have words, use them. He dropped to his knees. Tears. Mom, I was wrong. I'll pay it back. Please come home. I looked at him, feeling nothing but a flat kind of sorrow. He'd knelt at the courthouse, too, then stood and swung at me with a bill. The money will be handled per the agreement, I said. This is my home. His gaze slid over the furnishings, the balcony, the light. Greed flashed. When did you buy this? Why didn't you tell me? So you could take it too, Brenda said lightly. This is family business, he snapped. Stay out of it. That's enough, I said, palm flat on the table. You are not welcome here. Please leave. You're choosing her over your own son? Brenda is my friend, I said. Daniel, you have broken something I cannot fix with a casserole. He slammed the door so hard the frame rattled. The next morning, the phone again. Principal Evans. Mrs. Vance, I'm so sorry. Daniel came to the school and made a scene. Said you were unstable, that hiring you would endanger the children. We know it's nonsense, but we need to pause your mentorship until things calm down. I thanked him, then stood frozen in the kitchen while coffee grew cold. Daniel wasn't just trying to squeeze money. He was trying to salt the earth behind me. Brenda wanted to sue for defamation. I said, wait. Something gnawed at me. Why did he fear me working? Was he afraid of me being independent or of me finding something? I called Susan. What exactly did Daniel say? And has he been snooping around school records? I'll ask around, she promised. I pulled out a small box of Arthur's things I'd never had the heart to sort. A fountain pen, a pocket watch, old coins, a photo. Young Arthur holding a baby in front of an unfamiliar house. On the back in his neat hand, Ming's first birthday, May 21st, 1986. Daniel was born in 1987. Brenda, I whispered. Was Arthur married before me? She exhaled. A short college marriage. The woman left. Arthur raised the child until he was 3. Then you and Arthur married. I sat hard. So Daniel wasn't my blood. He was Arthur's first child. Except the date still didn't add up. My mind whirled. Before I could chase it, Susan called back. Eleanor, Daniel's been spending time in the records office, pulling Arthur's old personnel file. He also asked for files on a loan project from the 80s. There's chatter about a woman named Veronica Thorne. Veronica, the ex-wife. The name sat like a pit in my stomach. I called Mr. Lewis, Arthur's old assistant. In 1986, he said, after a loaded pause, Veronica came back with a child, said she was in debt to loan sharks. Arthur broke rules to approve a loan for her, got caught, nearly lost his job. Did she repay? She disappeared, he said softly. Arthur paid what he could. The bank ate the rest. He felt guilty for years. When I hung up, I stared at the photo again. Arthur holding a baby, not Daniel. A year before my Daniel's birth certificate said he arrived. A knot formed between my shoulder blades. The doorbell rang. Brenda with a file. Here's what I found, she said. Veronica, 58, CFO of an investment firm, divorced, no children. No children? I breathed. Then who is Daniel? Brenda tapped a line lower. During her marriage to Arthur, they adopted a boy named Daniel Vance. In the divorce, Arthur got custody. Adopted, not hers, not his. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. The grief shifted shape, not smaller, just different. My phone rang. Unknown number. A woman's voice, smooth and cold. This is Veronica Thorne, Daniel's mother. We need to talk. About what? The inheritance my son deserves, she said crisply. Arthur left more than a trust. Meet me at the Grand Hotel Cafe at 10 tomorrow. Come alone. Brenda begged me not to go. I went. Veronica was flawless. Expensive suit, sharp eyes, almost a resemblance to Daniel if you squinted wrong. She smiled with a mouth that didn't. You want something, I said, sitting. What's the rush? She stirred her coffee. Do you know why Daniel is cruel to you? Because he has always known he is not your real son. Arthur guarded against him. And you, well, women like you always save your love for your real child. I don't have another child, I said evenly. Please, she said, sliding a document toward me. Proof of Arthur's illegal loan in 86. If this goes public, his saintly reputation will crumble. Drop your claim to the trust, and I keep quiet. I glanced down. Arthur's signature. Bank seal. March 1986. We weren't even married yet. Arthur has been gone 5 years, I said, pushing it back. Your leverage is outdated. She smirked. What about Daniel, then? If he knew you cared more about money than his father's name, Daniel is a grown man, I said, standing. He can choose truth if he wants it. As for the money, a judge already witnessed the agreement. Her face hardened. You'll regret this. Outside, sunlight felt cold. When I got home, Daniel was waiting at my door with a file folder. We need to talk. We can do it here, I said, standing in the hall. He held up the folder, triumph glittering. Dad had a dark secret. He approved a fraudulent loan in 1986 for a relative. If not for mercy, he'd have gone to prison. I know, I said. He did it for Veronica. He paid back what he could. You knew? He flailed. Then why didn't you tell me? Why did you both guard the truth about your real daughter? My stomach dropped. Daniel, there is no daughter. He pulled out a paper and brandished it like a torch. A birth certificate. Name, Claire Vance. Date, May 15th, 1988. Father, Arthur. Mother, Eleanor. My hand shook. The seal looked real. The signatures looked real. The lie was perfect. This is a forgery, I said. Stop pretending, Daniel said, tears filling his eyes. I searched for years. Dad left everything for Claire. I'm just the adopted leftover. Daniel, I said, the words gravelly with fatigue. Look at my life. When you were sick, who kept vigil? When you had projects due, who stapled late into the night? When you married, who emptied her savings? His face softened for a heartbeat, then hardened. Because you didn't know about Claire. If you had, you would have tossed me aside. There are some arguments you cannot win because the other person needs the lie more than they need air. If you drop the claim to the trust, he said, voice going cool, I'll stay your son. Or what? Or I'll expose Dad's scandal and Claire's existence. I'll tell the world how you treated your adopted son. Do what you think you must, I said. I'm not surrendering a cent. His face twisted. You'll be ruined. When he left, I slid to the floor as the forged certificate fluttered from my hands. Brenda arrived to find me staring at it like it might spontaneously confess. This is insane, she said after a glance. I've known you for 30 years. I would know if you'd had a child. We'll file charges for defamation and forgery. It won't change them, I said, but we can try. The next day, Brenda brought something stranger. There is a real woman named Claire Vance, 34, single, works for a multinational. Her records show she was adopted. The adoptive parents? Arthur and Eleanor Vance. My breath left me. I never adopted a child. Then someone falsified records. Eleanor, this is big. Someone's orchestrating Veronica and Daniel. That night, the phone lit at 3 a.m. Mrs. Vance, my name is Claire. I'm sorry, I've been used. Can we meet? By noon, I was in the third-floor reading room of the main library, Brenda lurking 2 stacks away, phone ready. A young woman approached, white shirt, jeans, bare face. Something in her eyes tugged at a memory I'd never lived. I'm Claire, she said, twisting her fingers. I'm so sorry for what I've been dragged into. Who are you really? I asked. She swallowed. I'm Arthur's daughter, but I'm not yours. The room tilted. Explain. My mother is Veronica, she whispered. I was born in 1988. They'd been divorced 2 years. I stared. Arthur with Veronica after our wedding. The math started adding up, and then fell apart all over again. It's true. She handed me a DNA report. Matches to Arthur with 99.999% probability. I took it like it might burn. So your mother forged my name. She told you I abandoned you. She did, Claire said, crying now. Yesterday, when I saw the flyers, I realized how deep it all went. Mrs. Vance, I swear, you never knew about me. Why tell me now? Because I'm done being used, she said. And because before my father died, he told me his biggest regret was hurting you. He kept saying your name. A cold, clean pain swept through me. Arthur. The late-night meetings. The business trips. He'd been seeing his daughter. He'd been lying to me while he wept for me at the end. Daniel, I said, dragging my mind back. Is he your mother's son? No, Claire said. Daniel was adopted by my mom and Arthur in '83. When they divorced, Arthur kept him. I thought I could not be surprised anymore. I was wrong. Claire slid a USB drive across the table. This has evidence of my mother's schemes, fake documents, pressure on Daniel, and files on the loan. The borrower was a shell company tied to Mom. The amount was $5 million. Most of it vanished. There's a name on one approval signature, Evans, now head of the city's banking commission. I closed my eyes. A familiar surname, Mark Evans. No, a different Evans, surely. My world had become a web where every line vibrated. Mrs. Vance, Claire said softly, I can step back if you want. but I wanted you to have the truth. When I got home, Brenda and I combed through the files until our eyes burned. The scope was staggering. Forged birth certificates, altered adoption records, a trail showing money funneling through 3 shell companies and dissolving. Director Evans's signature appeared like a watermark. I need to go to Arthur, I said. Eleanor, Hill Rest Cemetery, now. The headstone was black granite, spare. Beloved father, it read. Not husband, not even a date from me. I knelt, fingers splayed on cold stone. It had been 5 years. I spoke the poem we'd promised each other we'd read, Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken, my voice fraying on the last line. Then I stood with the setting sun washing my face and made a decision that would pull everything into the light. Brenda, I said, call the media. We're holding a press conference. For 3 days we built a fortress of truth. Claire, quiet and steady, gave us ledgers and emails. Brenda drafted statements and wove the law into our story. I slept in patches and woke with Arthur's name on my tongue like a prayer and a curse. On the morning of the press conference, I buttoned a navy suit and walked into a room full of cameras. Thank you for coming, I began. I'm here to expose a decades-long fraud and a recent attempt to destroy my name. For an hour, I told the whole story. Veronica's forged papers, Daniel's theft and threats, the $5 million loan with signatures that pointed upward, the truth about Claire. When Claire joined me and held up the DNA report, the room flashed like lightning. Questions roared. A representative from the banking commission hustled out to make phone calls. By evening, Director Evans had been brought in for questioning. Arrest warrants went out for Veronica and Daniel. That night there was a knock at my door. Daniel, gaunt, unshaven, smaller somehow. He fell to his knees on my threshold. Mom, he rasped. I was wrong. Veronica used me. She's not my real mother. She never was, I said. And you knew you were adopted for years, didn't you? He flinched. I found out at 12. I found things. Veronica told me my real parents had been hurt by Dad, that you two ruined them. I wanted to punish you. Do not call me Mom, I said. The day you threatened me, you burned that name. He reached for my legs. I stepped back and shut the door. His sobs drifted down the hall, thinned, and were gone. A month later, the case is closed. Veronica, 10 years, fraud and forgery. Daniel, 3-year suspended sentence and 5 years probation as an accomplice. Director Evans removed and referred for prosecution. The bank recovered most of the missing $5 million. Claire resigned and left town to start over. She came to say goodbye. I'm sorry, she whispered, eyes red. For him, for me, for all of it. Visit your father sometimes, I said. He's alone at Hillrest. You don't hate him? I looked out at the wash of sunset over the courtyard. Love and hate don't fit on a ledger. The community college reinstated my classes. Lincoln Elementary rehired me as a consultant after the dust settled. Brenda sat with me one Saturday and helped inventory what was mine. The trust repayments had started. 50,000 wired. The rest scheduled in installments secured by the house, the condo, the commercial lease, the funds. I wouldn't live lavishly. I also wouldn't mop floors for my keep. One evening, Brenda set down her tea with a mischievous smile. There's someone I'd like you to meet. Oh? Professor Miller, history, widower, 5 years. He's been in your calligraphy class. Keeps asking about the brushstrokes and you. I laughed, really laughed. Brenda, please. At my age? What's wrong with 62, she said. He's 65 and spry. Come to dinner. I didn't say yes. I didn't say no either. That weekend, I drove to Pine Ridge Memorial Park, the place Arthur and I had chosen back when we were young, and sure the road ahead narrowed to just us. I stood under pines turned to gold by sunset and spoke to him without moving my lips. I forgive you, not because you earned it, but because I refuse to live the rest of my years with this stone in my chest. The wind answered softly in the needles. At home, I opened Robert Frost again and read "The Road Not Taken" out loud to my empty living room until the words settled like a quilt. In the morning, I'd go to Hillrest, leave white chrysanthemums on Arthur's grave as an old friend, saying a final kind goodbye. Then I'd meet Brenda, and if my courage held, shake Professor Miller's hand. I am 62. There is so much life left that I can hardly see the end of it from here, and this time, I will live it for me. 2 years later. The air over Southgate carried that early autumn scent of wood smoke and baked leaves. I was walking home from the college after class, chalk still on my fingers, heart steady and light. Teaching calligraphy to retirees and hobbyists had turned into a quiet joy. People came to slow down, to remember that patience could still build beauty. My doorbell chimed. A courier held out an envelope. "Certified mail, Mrs. Vance." Inside, a check for the final repayment, $450,000, and a short note in Daniel's handwriting. "I've sold the house. We're moving out of state. I know forgiveness is impossible. Still, thank you for raising me." I sat with it for a long time, then folded it into the file marked "Resolved." Brenda came by that evening with her husband and Professor Miller, whose name, I'd finally learned, was Thomas. We ate soup and bread and laughed too loudly for my taste, but not for my heart. "Retirement suits you," Thomas said as we washed dishes together. "Retirement?" I smiled. "I've never been busier." He grinned. "Then maybe I'll audit your class. My handwriting is atrocious." "You'd frighten the ink," I said. He chuckled, that low, warm sound that wraps around you like a shawl. Later, when the dishes were dry and the lights dimmed, I stood by the window watching the courtyard lamps blink on one by one. 2 years ago, I'd walked into this condo with a suitcase and a heart scraped raw. Now the place hummed with life. Plants, books, music, laughter, and freedom. Every Sunday, I drove to Hillrest Cemetery. Claire sometimes came too. We'd stand by Arthur's stone in silence, then talk over coffee afterward, about her work, about her plans to move to Portland, about forgiveness. One morning, she brought a small wooden box. "Dad wanted you to have this," she said. Inside lay Arthur's fountain pen, the one I thought lost, and a letter in his wavering script. "Eleanor, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I was a coward in some ways, brave in others. I hurt you with my silence. I wish I'd told you about Claire. I wish I'd told you sooner that the trust was my way of protecting you from everyone, including me. Please live freely, laugh loudly, and forgive gently. You were the best part of my life. Arthur." The words trembled, like him near the end, and broke me open one more time, but softly this time. I tucked the letter in my journal and wrote beneath it, "I forgive you." Months passed. Daniel never called again, but once, at Christmas, a small package arrived. Inside, a framed photo of a baby boy, Ethan, born November 4th. "He'll grow up knowing the truth," the note said. I looked at that tiny face, so new to the world, and whispered, "Be better than we were." On New Year's Eve, Brenda dragged me to a little community gathering. Music, cocoa, lanterns drifting up into the navy sky. Thomas found me on the edge of the crowd. "One more year," he said, holding out a paper lantern. "What should we wish for?" I asked. "For peace," he said, "and maybe companionship." We lit the lantern together. It lifted, carrying our shared warmth into the stars. When I got home, I wrote one more entry in the notebook I'd started that first night in this condo. I have learned that independence isn't about living alone. It's about living without fear. Money can be stolen, love can fade, family can betray, but dignity, once reclaimed, never leaves again. I may have lost a son, but I found myself, and at 64, that's the best inheritance of all. I closed the notebook and turned off the light. Outside, the wind whispered through the courtyard trees, soft, forgiving, and free.